Hi, it's Alaska Granny. Today I wanted to share with you some ideas about prepping supplies. How do we decide what do we need? How long can we store it? Where do we put it? What do we do with it? There are so many questions we can ask ourselves, the dilemmas that we face of trying to figure out what should we really have? Where are we going to put all this stuff? And how are we going to use it? How long does some of it even last? We know we want to have the most important items, so in an emergency, there's no rushing around to figure out, do I have enough water? Do I have enough food? Do I have a way to prepare the food? Do I have a way to keep my family warm? Can I seal up a window or a door if something has happened that damaged my house? Do I have some tools? And do I know how to use the things I have and where they are? So we might even want to begin with an inventory of what are the things that you do have. Ask yourself some of the questions over the things that you have. Do I need this? Do I use this? Why do I have this item? And are there other ways that I can use this item that can be helpful to me in all kinds of daily situations or emergency situations? And if you can't find a reason why you have some of the things that you do, maybe it's time to box them up, donate them to charity, pass them off to another family member or a friend or neighbor, so that you then don't clutter up your home with things that you don't know how to use, don't intend to use, and don't have any imagination about how you could use them. And then you have the space that you freed up for things that you do want to have. You can't organize clutter. You want to get rid of unnecessary items so that you actually are prepared. You have your things where you need them. You know how to access them. You know how to use them. And then that gives you the peace of mind knowing that you can take care of yourself. You are prepared for all types of emergency situations. And emergencies come to all of us. They can pop up out of nowhere in just a second. Because we have organized our supplies and strategically stockpiled the things that we can use, then we know how to access those things and take care of the emergency we have at hand. If you have just a garage that's stuffed with things or a shed that's overflowing with boxes, that's not going to be helpful if you have an emergency and you don't know where anything is and you don't even know what half of the things are. So it's really so helpful on a day-to-day basis to have our things organized and prepared so that we can manage the items that we do have. And it can seem overwhelming for some of us. We have so many things and we just don't know what to do. But just start with pick up one item. And if you pick up one item and then you can figure out, how do I use it? Where do I put it? Do I really want it? And evaluate that item and then either find a spot for it or put it in a box to get rid of it. And even if you only manage one item a day, after a year you have hundreds of items that you have either organized, cleaned out, or replaced. What's the old saying about eating the elephant? One bite at a time. It can seem overwhelming, but if you do a little bit at a time, then pretty soon it goes smoother and you can see that you're making progress. If you're putting things in a box and you're not sure that you want to get rid of them, you can always label one box as a cooling off period. I can put things in this box and I still have a chance to reclaim them if I think about it and decide that I really need them. But if you really don't, be really honest with yourself, let it go. But you don't have to get rid of everything immediately if you think it's something you might change your mind. So have your boxes to just get rid of, and then maybe the cooling off period box for the things that you're not quite sure that you can get rid of it. And I know for me, the hardest thing is the sentimental items. I just can't get rid of some of the things that my children made when they were little, and they're not interested in ever claiming them, and so I guess it's just going to be me. Sometimes we think, oh, my children will love this stuff when they grow up and they have their own families and homes, and guess what? They still don't. So decide to keep things if they're meaningful to you, and if they're not, it's okay to relive those memories and get rid of a few of those things and maybe whittle down so you don't have as much of that stuff. And that's what I've been trying to do. The kids don't want it. Sad, isn't it? But it's the truth. There are also items that we might want in an emergency situation, but we need to realize that you can't store them long term. There's some things that you shouldn't stockpile. One of them is bleach. Bleach loses its potency. We do want to have bleach, whether we want to use it for cleaning, disinfecting, purifying water, but it has a shelf life and it will expire. After a while, a gallon of bleach just turns into water. Some of the strategies to overcome that are perhaps get a package of pool shock. You can use a small amount of pool shock to make bleachy water. Then you can use that new solution as the bleach. You can make hundreds of gallons of bleach out of a package of pool shock, but realize that it is a chemical and you need to store it airtight, and you need to store it probably not inside your home. I've kept some in the garage, and I realized over time that it actually exploded within the container that it was. It actually rotted out some of the other items stored in that same cabinet. So you still can't store that forever. It's nice also to find the bleach tablets, but they're not exactly the same as liquid bleach, and they're not recommended for purifying water. But you have to tell yourself, if you couldn't get any clean water, would that be better than untreated water at all? And so that's where I look at it. Well, if I didn't have any other choice, any other way to purify water, I would probably try that as a way to maintain a freshwater supply. But it shouldn't be your first choice. It would be like a last resort. Something else that you shouldn't stockpile is foods you don't like. It doesn't matter if it's cheap. It doesn't matter if it's long lasting. It doesn't matter if somebody else has it on their list of this is a perfect prepper food. If you don't care to eat it, it doesn't make sense to buy it. Don't spend your money and waste your space storing something you don't want. Pick up foods that you do enjoy eating. Store those kind of foods, and then make sure that you're rotating and replacing those foods. Unless you have the longest lasting dried foods that are packaged to last for 30 years, things like beans, rice, oatmeal, pasta, grains, you have to rotate the other types of foods. Canned foods and packaged foods, they come with a date on them, a best by, use by, sell by. It's not necessarily an expiration date, but it can be. And the last thing you want to do is go into your pantry and cans have exploded, or packages have been infested with pantry bugs, or things like cheese packets and macaroni and cheese have turned brown and they're rotten. You don't want to have that happen to you. You want the things that you buy to get the full value out of it by rotating those foods. Pay attention to good practices of storing food in an airtight container in a cool, dark, dry environment, and you're going to get the longest life out of it. But it isn't going to last forever. So be sure that you're buying foods that you want to eat and then rotate and replace them. And sometimes it can be an adventure to choose a few items out of your prepper pantry and see how you can combine them and what you can do to make something unusual. You might find that the adventure is worth the experiment. Sometimes you come up with a winner, and not always, but also remember, every meal you eat isn't going to be the best you ever had. If it was, how would you ever know anything was special? Remember that foods like snacks, crackers, chips, cookies, those things are going to go stale. They're going to get rancid. Brown rice has natural oils in it. Those foods just can't last. You can help them last longer, but they're just not going to be for long term. And as much as you want to store cookies away for the apocalypse, it isn't possible. You need to be rotating your cookies and continue to get more if that's something that you want to always have. So you can buy a few, but you need to rotate and replace them and continue to do that so you have the things you want. That's the only sensible way. If you put cookies away and you think 20 years from now I'm going to open them up, you're going to be sadly disappointed, I'm afraid. So look over your things, even if you're in the store, looking at buying something new. Will I use it? How will I use it? Where will I put it? And what are the other things that I can do with it? So we need to actually be questioning all of our possessions so that we truly fill our lives with the things that are most important to us, that are the most useful, and can help us sustain our lives going forward. Leave it in the comments below if you have any tips and tricks on things we need to remember when we're stockpiling and organizing to help us have a better outcome when we face the challenges in the future. I hope you'll like my video, share my video, and please subscribe to the Alaska Granny channel.